Dries, what's the story of this season's men's collection?
The men's collection is really like a study for me. It's a study of color and print and the impact that those two things have on volumes and how you perceive a silhouette and how you look at the person dressed in those colors of prints.
The colors seem quite mitigated or sort of compromised. They're odd colors in a way.
Yes, I really wanted to see ones because color and men is not always going very well together. So in that way, I really wanted to study a whole group of colors, which are not always bright colors. It's more like different nuances of beige, strange blush, pale yellow, khaki, but not only one color of khaki, but different nuances of khaki, navy in all its different appearances. So a lot of terracotta color. So it's really a very, very colorful collection. But on the other hand, also very, very believable, I think, for a guy. And of course, you can make a silhouette made up in 3 different colors, and it looks completely different than when you do then something just in 3 different colors of beige.
Because you're known for color, but is this a different use of color for you than you've done in the past?
This is a completely different way of looking at color. It was really going really far, really very far with it, going with light blue and khaki and terracotta and pale yellow shoes in one outfit, and still trying that it looks believable and desirable, because at the end that's what fashion is about, so that make clothes what people would love to buy and to wear. So it was really a very interesting experiment, and it was, I'm very happy with the final result.
And you're also known for your work on prints. And what makes these prints, what was the specific thing this season?
So the prints this season also had to function more as a color field in the same way, so they had to translate in the same way than the solid colors. So we looked for prints which were kind of tonal. So of course you see the motif, most of the motifs were taken from interior fabrics and some Americana, some palm trees, all these things. So there is even kind of a vintage atmosphere, because I wanted that the prints had something recognizable, not reinvent the print. But of course the color use in the prints is quite different than normal, so you have all those strange skin colors and light blue and pale yellow, which do then the same job as the solid colors.
Is there an Americana touch to it at all, or?
There is, because there is a vintage feeling. Of course, you have that whole 50s glamour, which you know from, especially from Hollywood movies. So in that way, of course, there is kind of an American feel to the whole thing.
And there doesn't seem to be one predominant silhouette. It seems to be a few different shoulders, a few different proportions. Would that be correct?
To make those colors and prints believable, we went also to an easy silhouette. I didn't want to go really completely oversized. So some shoulders are a little bit more accentuated, but most of the materials are quite fluid. We looked for materials which have a drape, in contrast with some fabrics which are quite dry, so that you have some things which are really crisp cotton or crisp wool, and other things which are like very drapey viscoses for shirts and even for raincoats. We have one cotton with nylon and cupro mixture, which we make a purple raincoat in, and that's like more drapey aspect then. So it's really that whole play with more clean fabrics, more drapey fabrics, a bigger silhouette, a more normal silhouette, that long, fluid atmosphere.
Yet at some occasions you've got the detail of embroidery or the sequins.
So in the embroideries, of course, it was a bigger challenge, because if you do plain collection or plain part in a collection, how do you do that? So, but that. We made very dense embroidered, tonal embroideries of traditional flowers, half tattoo, half flower, and also the placements sometimes are more inspired on tattoos than on normal embroidered garments. So, but the fact that we made them completely tonal made them also then very easy for the eye in the whole look of the collection.
So what about the show? It's a hot day, and it's going to be in a... Tell us about the location.
The location is really very special. I'm very, very happy with it. It's the old offices from Libération, which is at the end a very important, rather cult newspaper here in Paris. So I think the location couldn't be more Parisian than it is. So especially also the view from the location is really special. But I didn't want to have like a normal venue. So what we managed is that we could use all the floors of their old offices. They left a few years ago. but all the furniture and all the files and everything was still there. So it's a very strange, rather, a completely different atmosphere than what you used to see a fashion show in.
And what about the soundtrack then in this space?
The soundtrack was something, yeah, okay, what do you want to listen to when you're in a space like that, looking at clothes like that? So I wanted on one side something rather minimal, something different again, also as a soundtrack. So we know the people of Stuff, which is a Belgian band, quite well, and I love what they are doing because it's like a bunch of young people really experimenting. They mix funk and jazz and all these elements together to like a very new sound. And they gave us the parts of their latest album so that we could kind of put the soundtrack together. And we mixed it a little bit with of Miles Davis, which is then also kind of an experiment from a different time.
And lastly, is there anything specific about the guys walking in the show, the casting, because that has changed a little bit recently?
The casting for me was really very important. That were really characters. That is really like very specific guys, but who look still believable as a model. So I didn't want to use really like a street casting, but we really went for 59 very specific guys with their own look. And also the jewels, we have some jewels in the collection, just to emphasize that some guys wear jewels and others not. So it's not something which you push through the whole fashion show, but some guys are really good with an earring or with rings, and that's also what we kept.
Last question. Some people, for example, have noticed over the past few seasons that you've been doing collections for men that were quite sportswear or quite, casually based. Is this a slightly more sartorial, a more dressed silhouette than before or recently?
It's a rather dressed silhouette, especially for a summer collection, because I really wanted to study shapes. And of course, when you do shapes, automatically you go more to the traditional menswear, where you have like the coat, the trench coat, the traditional jacket. But of course, we changed there quite a lot of things also. So the silhouette, because my fabrics were quite droopy, I also wanted to have like a long, slender silhouette. A little bit bigger shoulders, but then the buttons placed quite low so that everything looks quite long. In the same way that also we made then our trench coats extra long, oversized without being exaggerated.